Harden, and I'm going up against Tatum Brown and Robert Williams. But this Boston team is really good. I mean, they're really good, and this is without Marcus Smart. I know Brooklyn's banged up. This is probably Brooklyn's worst loss of the year, regardless of who's playing, who's not playing. So,
I mean, you got to give them credit. They didn't have Kevin Durant out there. It was Kyrie, Cam Thomas.
yeah, I mean that's fine, but no excuses. It was embarrassing. This was an embarrassing loss.
I guess there's no excuses for how embarrassing. I think there is an excuse for the loss. But yeah, no, I mean, Kyrie only had 20 points. Cam Thomas had 19. You know, nobody could. It was rough, and this is where it becomes interesting. I mean, we'll talk about Cam Thomas in a sec because I do want to talk about that young man. But with the Boston Celtics, Al Horford, some nights has a big night, some nights he has a quiet night, and that's fine because Robert Williams tonight had 16 points in 19 minutes. You got 31 from Tatum. You got 26 from Jaylen Brown, 14 from, Derek White, 10 from Brogdon, and 12 from Luke Cornett. Then you got to see a little Blake Griffin, Justin Jackson also in the game, Sam Hauser, Payne Pritchard, Grant Williams. And, this was a night that I think we just saw the depth of the Boston Celtics. Yeah, they were playing, the Boston Celtics were playing a team, the Brooklyn Nets, who were, shorthanded. But for a team that people are like dishing on the fact that Luke Cornett plays 20 minutes a night, Luke Cornett's not a bad basketball player.
No. Not at all.
And I just think it's unreal. Like, the fact that they now have Derek White and Malcolm Brogdon, it just goes to show that, like, Brogdon's been such a big addition because now they have, like, 3 guards in Smart, White, and Brogdon that at least one of them is going to score double digits for you.
So, yeah, I think the Al Horford is interesting because I was saying Al Horford last year is not going to have the same last year as he is this year. He'll have his nights, and he definitely has his nights. So I think I do think the Boston Celtics make a trade. I think Brad Stevens is a genius, and I know he sees the same thing. So, you know who I think is the perfect fit for this team? Mr. Kelly O. I think Kelly O is a phenomenal asset for this Boston Celtics team. I don't know exactly what it's going to take to get him. I'm going to imagine because of his bigger contract, middle tier contract, I don't think it would be difficult to acquire him at all.
So there's a problem with any speculation, and this could be a great clip. This is why the Boston Celtics will not make a trade at the deadline. They are a buyout team. They are going to be active in the buyout market. The reason why they're not making a trade is the only trade assets that they have is Payton Pritchard, Danilo Gallinari, and like the bottom contracts like Justin Jackson, because supposedly Blake Griffin will not be cut or trade. Blake Griffin is supposedly a huge locker room guy, leader, and culture setter. So they want Blake Griffin there because he is beloved by the city, beloved by the locker room and the organization. But basically, Justin Jackson, and they're very hesitant about paying Pritchard. But Justin Jackson and Danilo Gallinari, similar to how Ricky Rubio was used last year to be traded for Karis LeVert. But the problem is Danilo Gallinari has came out instead, and I made a video on this, that he plans on playing in the playoffs. He is currently running and shooting, and he said he will play in the playoffs. He is going to be in the playoffs. And right now, I think it is, he got hurt at the beginning of September, so 3 months. 4 months is January. 4 months from there is May. So yeah, 8 months, which is the same recovery timetable as Danny Green. 8 months would be May for Danilo Gallinari. And the reason why Gallinari will not be traded is it would be such a bad look for the Boston Celtics franchise that you signed Danilo Gallinari, who is a lifelong Boston Celtics fan. I don't know if you remember the pictures that emerged of him being like 17 years old in like a full Boston Celtics jumpsuit. And he is beloved by the city. He has a very big Italian following who are now like all Celtics fans. So it would just be like a PR nightmare. It would be a bad look for free agency because that would mean like vets who would want to play for Boston would be like jaded because they saw what you did to Danilo Gallinari when he still had another year on his deal. And it's not going to happen. They don't have anything to trade. You're not trading Grant Williams. Like the only person that they can trade is a Payton Pritchard, Justin Jackson deal, which is like basically $4 million worth of salary that you can trade. Who are you going to get for?
Yeah, obviously Danilo is not getting traded. They have plenty they could trade. Grant Williams is. I don't see any world where Grant Williams comes back to the Boston Celtics next year.
They're either re-signing Grant Williams or signing trading him.
All right, that's fine. Blake Griffin, $3 million. Payton Pritchard, $6 million. Justin Jackson, $2
million.
They're
not trading.
Luke Cornett, $2.5 million.
They're not trading Blake.
$2 million.
Blake and Danilo and Grant are untouchable. The only guys you could trade are probably Payton Pritchard, Justin Jackson, and maybe Luke Cornett if you were getting a center and
return. So I'm glad you brought that up. That's about $9 million. Who has a cap of $9 million?
Mason Plumlee, Jakob Poeltl, Naz Reid's like $2 million. There's plenty of trades they can make. They have a trade exemption for like $5.9 million. You know what?
This team can do.
There's two deals out there that I could see him doing. Payton Pritchard and Justin Jackson for Bones Island. But no, they don't need another guard. They don't need another guard. Like, why would you trade Payton Pritchard for another guy? You're right.
I think they'll target big man. I think Naz Reid
what
is
about,
a really
what about
interesting guy.
Zeke Nnaji and Bones Highland for Payton Pritchard, Justin Jackson, and Luke Cornett in a protected first? Nah. I think the best is Naz Reid and Jalen Noel, like you're saying, for Payton Pritchard and Justin Jackson.
That would be if the Celtics were to do that trade, I would be horrified because of how much better they got. Just like they did at the deadline last year, just like they did in the offseason. This team just keeps getting better.
Because Jalen Noel would replace Payton Pritchard and Naz Reid would be their backup center.
Right? Yeah, I think Naz Reid, I don't know why people aren't talking about it, especially with his contract. I guess it's because of it's expiring. But
yeah, it's expiring.
I think he's one of the more valuable assets available at the deadline right now. I really do.
Oh, he's everything we thought Montrezl Harrell was going to become. Like, he might not.
Harrell kind of was that.
Well, I think he's not as gifted as a interior scorer as Montrezl Harrell because I think we need to give Montrezl Harrell credit as an interior. People don't realize he was averaging almost 20 points a game as just a paint scorer. Give him credit. But Naz Reid is a way better 3-point shooter than Montrezl Harrell. I think he's the same level as rebounder as Montrezl Harrell because Montrezl Harrell's a decent rebounder for his size. Same thing with Naz Reid. But Naz Reid is a better defender than Montrezl Harrell has ever been. And Naz Reid is a better 3-point shooter than – he's basically Montrezl Harrell with defense and a 3-point shot.
Yeah.
Am I right? That's like – they're both like 6'8", 6'9", undersized centers who are more athletic. They're, decent rebounders for being undersized. But Naz Reid's the better defender. So I think the whole thing is probably the Timberwolves are like, yeah, we'll trade you Naz Reid. Just send us a protected first back or like 4 second-round picks. And everyone's like, but he's going to only be a half-season rental. I'm like, well, you could talk to his agent and maybe figure out a verbal agreement,
Yeah, who else is kind of interesting is PJ Washington, but I don't think he's going to get traded. I'm looking at Chris Boucher's contract.
Paid Watson for Paid Watson for the Nuggets? You're talking?
What?
Payne Watson on the Nuggets?
PJ Washington.
Oh, PJ Washington, yeah. Sorry, my apology. Yeah, PJ Washington. I think they actually are planning on re-signing him. They actually really like PJ.
Yeah.
I think they view PJ Washington as a modern power forward because he had a career year this season. Unless
worst case, sign and trade.
Yeah, worst case, sign and trade or bring him back on a 1-year deal. Yeah, I mean, he's doing phenomenal. 15 points, 44% from the field, almost 36 from 3, 5 rebounds, 2.5 assists, 1 block, 1 steal a night, basically. He's like he's 6'8" with like a 7-foot wingspan or whatever. He's like the perfect modern day power forward you want next to like if you want to go like for LaMelo. But let's pivot. We just talked Boston, all that.
Olynyk gets bought out. I know exactly where he's going, and that is horrifying to me.
Golden State?
No, Boston.
Yeah, I could see that. I also could see him going to Golden State because Golden State would be